Welcome to January 24th board meeting. Pam, could you please note that everyone is present with the exception of Mr. Uxer and Ms. Nájera. Both of them will not be able to join us this evening. Where is it? I see it. Dr. Amaya, would you mind leading us in the pledge?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Doctor. Is she waiting for? Pam, could you please move? Could you please move up item? I can't find it. Board trustees. Item 1.9.1, please.
Yes, sir. Item 1.9, Board of Trustees Business. Item 1.9.1, the Board of Trustees will conduct the official swearing in and administering of the oath of office to the newly elected member of the Board of Trustees in District 4, Ms. Cristina R. Sanchez.
Man, Pam's tearing up. Good.
No.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, go. Would you please appoint it?
Wait,
Point
what?
of clarification, appointed, not elected.
Not elected.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. And, oh, look who's back. Welcome, Judge Solis. Judge Solis, please. Ms. Sanchez? Is Omar going to join you? Yeah, Mr. Villa, would you and the family like to join?
Her parents are here.
The whole family.
You want? Use the mic.
Yes. Ms. Solis, I know you've never been here before. Would you mind using the mic?
Sure. I've never been.
Judge, I'm sorry,
I've never
Judge.
been at this, from this vantage point, actually. All righty. Would you please raise your right hand? In the name and by the authority of the state of Texas, I state your name,
Cristina Sanchez,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will faithfully execute the duties
that I will faithfully execute the duties
of the office of trustee, El Paso County Community College District, District 4
of the office of the El Paso Community College, District 4
of the state of Texas,
of the state of Texas,
and will to the best of my ability
and will, to the best of my ability,
preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution and laws
preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution and laws
of the United States and of this state, so help me God.
of this state and the United States, so help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Pam, we don't have cake?
Thank you all very much. Thank you. Thank you. I just wanted to say a couple of words again to thank you very
Please.
much to the Board of Trustees. Thank you to Judge Solis. I have, as I mentioned at the last meeting, a very important role and big shoes to fill. She did a wonderful job as a District 4 trustee, and I affirm, as I just stated, and I hope to continue that legacy and to continue on until the end of the term, which is May. So thank you very much, Dr. Serrata, everybody with the El Paso Community College. I very much look forward to working very closely with you and to meeting all of you. Thank you.
Hey, Ms. Sanchez, we're looking forward to your contributions. Thank you. And thank you, Judge Solis. Approval of minutes of October 15, regular meeting.
Move to approve?
Second.
Questions?
Mrs. Robles?
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez?
Aye.
Mr. Haggerty?
Aye.
Dr. Graham?
Aye.
Mr. Fierro.
Aye. Item 1.6, open forum. Angelica, no time? Okay. Anyone here to speak under open forum? Once, twice, okay. Pam?
Item 1.7, presentations by individuals, groups, and organizations. Item 1.7.1, Dr. William Sarata, college president, will recognize individuals who have retired from the college district.
Chair Farrell, members of the board, as we open our first meeting of 2019, we do have a number of retirements. This is always a bittersweet moment, but one that is well earned by the faculty and staff that is retiring this evening. I'm going to begin with Ms. Janet Lockhart. Jan Lockhart, if you'll join me, please. No, my hands are cold. That's what it is. Good evening, welcome. Wonderful, that's great. Ms. Lockhart began her educational career 50 years ago teaching social sciences at Bishop Conatee, an all-girls Catholic high school in Los Angeles, California in 1969. She worked for the El Paso Emergency Medical Services with the El Paso County Health Department. She taught middle school social studies for a parochial high school in Fort Worth, Texas, managed student dormitories at UTEP, taught social studies at Radford School, and was a regional health educator for the Texas Department of Health. While employed by TDH, she was an adjunct instructor of political science and psychology for El Paso Community College and physical geography for Park College. She began with EPCC as a counselor for the IVALP project. As a counselor with the project, she introduced the first resource fair at the Trans Mountain campus, which spread to all campuses and has grown to a very successful program to acquaint students to departments and programs at each campus. Ms. Lockhart has been in the Center for Students with Disabilities for the last 24 years, 8 years as counselor, 16 years as director. She was the creator of the Critical Incidents Response Team at CSD, which over the years has provided debriefings to multiple students and staff after a critical situation. Some of her achievements include development of the EPCC Student Resource Directory, Handbook for Emergency Medical Field Personnel, Management Performance Audit of Sun City Area Transit Department, International Student Host Family Handbook for UT at Arlington, various articles and pamphlets over the years, Administrative Officer for the West Texas Disaster Medical Assistance Team, providing support at the 1996 earthquake in Northridge, California. Networking with state and local agency has given recognition to EPCC and CSD. Some of the honors, individual honors, were EPCC Diamond Award, Who's Who Among America's Teachers, Community Member Diamond Amigo Award from the Center for Accommodations and Support Services at UTEP, Certification of Appreciation from the American Red Cross for assisting at hurricane relief efforts, Outstanding UTEP Master of Public Administration Alumni Award, Outstanding Part-Time Faculty Award for EPCC, and certificates from various organizations and schools over the years. Ms. Lockhart has been instrumental in the advancement of knowledge of disability for students and staff at El Paso Community College. Her greatest pride has been the privilege and honor of leading a great team of dedicated staff for the last 16 years. And with the support of administration and board of trustees, the department will continue to grow and provide great services for students and the college. Ms. Lockhart, thank you so much for your dedication of over 24 years at El Paso Community College. You get in with your staff, and this is one of the rare times I'm not verbally.
Her staff, yeah.
please, I know they want to be. Miss Nancy Gomez, will you please join me?
Where is she?
Ms. Nancy Gomez, Director of Academic Computing and Media Services, is retiring from El Paso Community College after 26 years of working in the area of instructional technology. Nancy started working as an intern at EPCC TV with the Women in Technology program while working towards her associate's degree of science in media production, which she obtained in August of 1992. Ms. Gomez continued working with EPCC TV and became a full-time staff member as a media scheduling and program assistant, which later became a specialist position. She worked with the TV studio when it was a small facility at the Valle Verde campus before the internet and when pneumatic 3/4 inch tapes were used to broadcast the TV programs. In those days, high tech meant using a VCR to record or play a program. In 2002, Ms. Gomez became manager of instructional media services. During this time, Nancy completed both her bachelor's degree in business information systems and a master's degree in business administration. She also taught a few non-credit classes in digital cameras and scanners for the personal enrichment department in continuing education. In 2016, Ms. Gomez became the Director of Academic Computing and Media Services. As director, she led the first project to convert traditional classrooms into technology-enhanced classrooms. She worked with the IT committee, developed specifications, negotiated with vendors, worked with deans, IT staff, facilities, and other departments for various classroom conversion projects. To date, 176 classrooms have been converted, and this has facilitated the use of technology in the classrooms by students and faculty. To date, Nancy has also been working with the project managers for the new construction projects to ensure the appropriate technology in the classrooms and computer labs. In the academic computing labs, Nancy was directly involved with the PC and peripheral refreshes during the past several years. She also saw the shift of our students using PCs in the open labs to increase use of mobile devices. Throughout the many years in IT, she participated in various committees such as the Cable Collaborative for EPIC TV, Integrated Technology, Campus Improvement Committee, and the Emergency Management Task Force. She is also a proud graduate of the first class of the Leadership Academy in 2005 and later served on the Leadership Academy Planning Committee. Her plans for retirement are to spend more time with her children, Amanda and Angel, and her 6 grandchildren. Too young to have grandchildren. She wants to travel to all locations on her bucket list. In a few weeks, she will travel to Costa Rica, and she is very excited and looking forward to it. She also wants to spend time strengthening her spiritual growth. On behalf of the college and the IT division, we thank her for 26 years of service, and we wish her well. She begins her new journey into retirement. Congratulations and best wishes. Miss Diana Williams, please join me. Diana Williams joined the El Paso Community College family in 1991 as a vocational guidance assistant advising students at the Career Training Center and the Advanced Technology Center. She became a tenured counselor in 1999 and started advising our very first dual credit students in 2000. She has served on the Dual Credit Instructional Committee and has participated in various conferences such as the National Alliance of Concurrent Enrollment Partnerships, NACEP, representing El Paso Community College. Ms. Williams has also left her mark on the El Paso community. She taught Sunday school and served on various church committees that focused on youth leadership. She was also a high school basketball official for 10 years and a high school volleyball official for 5 years. She was the catalyst in an effort to form a nonprofit organization that would allow youth with a financial need to earn a scholarship to participate and compete with Texas Shooting Stars Community Track Club. Ms. Williams went into counseling to make a difference in students' lives by helping them accomplish their goals. She has certainly done that many times over. The dual credit early college high school team have learned so much from Ms. Williams, and they will greatly miss her. Best wishes for a very happy retirement, and thank you for 28 years of service to the students, faculty, and staff at EPCC.
Brian's been here longer than she. He's been on the board 42 years?
25. 1995. January of 95. So this is my anniversary.
Is it?
Yeah, January.
Okay. Hmm?
No wonder they take care of you. She's such a nice person. Just, some need more than 6. Yes. It's the same as the there.
Except for one, she's retired. Very blessed.
And finally, tonight, I'd like to recognize Mr. Luis Chaparro, the Director of Library and Technical Services.
Oh my God. Goodness, in 71.
Mr. Chaparro began his career at El Paso Community College in 1978, teaching Spanish on a part-time basis. Then he was hired full-time as Public Services Librarian at Logan Heights. He was promoted to supervise a one-room portable that served as a temporary library while a new building was constructed at the Trans Mountain campus. Once the building was ready, Mr. Chaparro led the move to the new library in 1979. In 1993, he was hired as director of the campus-wide learning resource system. As LRC director, Mr. Chaparro provided the leadership that led to the renovation and expansion of the existing Valle Verde LRC. During the spring and summer of 1994, he served as special assistant to the president for community relations. Upon completion of this assignment, he returned to library administration and has since served then as the Director of Library Technical Services. In 1981, he was selected by the Organization of American States to teach a summer course in librarianship at the University of Guanajuato, Mexico. In 1982, he was invited by the Venezuelan government to conduct an assessment of the library system of the Instituto, the next one, Pedagógico? Yeah, Experimento de Bascuimento. That one's too hard for me to pronounce.
Instituto Pedagógico
Thank you.
Experimental de Barquisimeto.
Ah, perfecto. In 1983, he was selected as Outstanding Librarian of the Year by the EPCC's Professional Association of College Educators. He was one of 15 administrators selected nationwide by the National Community College Hispanic Council to participate in a Ford Foundation Leadership Training Program for Hispanic administrators in community colleges in Tucson, Arizona in the summer of 1991. Mr. Chaparro is looking forward to retirement to spoil the 4 grandkids that he has and enjoy time with his spouse to continue struggling with learning of the French language and spending a long period of time in France like he did when he was young. Mr. Chaparro, thank you so much for your outstanding 41 years of service to El Paso Community College.
Yeah, I'm almost there. I'm almost that age. I thought you were gonna stay here for 100 years.
Yeah, well, I wish, you know. Thank you.
Enjoy yourself. 100 years.
100 years.
Wow, 41 years.
Item 1.7.2, Mr. Roque A. Aguan Jr., Partnership Specialist, United States Census Bureau, will provide a presentation on the importance of the upcoming 2020 census and to discuss opportunities for participation.
Good evening, welcome.
Chairman Fierro, how are you?
Good, sir. Thank you for being here, my friend.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you.
Board of Trustees, my name is Roque Uggan. I'm from the U.S. Department of Commerce, the Census Bureau. And you should have a packet here that has several documents. And the purpose of us being here today is to introduce ourselves and kind of give you an update of where we are with the census activities, 2020 census. And also hopefully get permission from the board to work with the administrative staff in developing a complete count committee and other partnership opportunities that we have. I'm also here with my colleague, Paulina Lopez. She's a partnership specialist. We're a part of the Denver region, 12 states, including Texas and the El Paso Area Census Office. The 16 counties. El Paso's just one, so as far east as Ector County down to Terrell. So we have much work to do before the census begins. So quickly, I'll just go through, I won't take up too much of your time, just kind of go through the different handouts that you have. The 2020 census at a glance is the first one. Our main mission is counting everyone once, only once, and in the right place. The federal government has, the U.S. Census Bureau is the largest statistical agency. Many, as you know, many government entities, schools, governments, using statistics from the Census Bureau for their future planning. Federal law protects the confidentiality, not only requires through the Constitution that we do the census every 10 years, but also protects that confidentiality. The census provides vital information, and being here today, it's important to highlight that the communities rely on census statistics to plan all the different needs we have, from the number of schools to how our master plan is going to look in the next 5 years, to the different roads and emergency services. Businesses are using census data for economic development. Each year, the federal government contributes over $675 billion in federal funding that is tied to census-driven data. On the next page, you'll see a study, some findings from the George Washington University from fiscal year 2015, specifically for Texas, in regards and to that point about the amount of federal dollars that are coming to Texas. Over $43 billion are earmarked for Texas every year. What that comes down to per capita, over $1,500. So every person over 10 years involved in these different programs, from highways, from federal prisons, some of the grants y'all get here, Title V, special ed, higher education, workforce development. These funds are tied to census numbers. And this is why it's important for us to be here today, speaking to y'all and asking for your support in helping the Census Bureau get out the count for the 2020 census and to drive self-response. This is the first time ever in the history of the census that this census is not going to just be offered online, in paper and telephone, but online. So the field operations over the last 10 years, the kind of background work that has gone into testing that system, phenomenal what I've seen. And I'm here to ask you to please help us get the word out in your community. There are some important dates for the 2020 census. At this point, like I'm here today, we're engaging and educating local leaders, partners in the communities, Paso City and County. They're working together. As I said earlier, we got Ector County. We're all over the place promoting participation in the census locally. Here in El Paso, the area census office, we anticipate to open sometime this year between June and August. And we need help we need help with recruitment. We have jobs. We have a minimum, if you're working as an enumerator, next year making $15 an hour. If you're in management positions, it goes higher. And some of them are temporary for a few months. They're part-time. Some are full-time. So I'll go into that a little bit later. Mid-March, residents are invited to respond. Self-response begins on March 23rd next year. April 1 is Census Day. Bottom line is, where you are on that day, we want to count you. And having El Paso Community College as a partner, you have hard to count populations that attend this school, whether they're from low income, whether they're single mothers, whether they have little children under 5, whether they're elderly or disabled. We need to identify those people in the organizations such as yourself to help us generate and develop a plan to strategically outreach to these members of the community and get them to respond, especially in the context of the misinformation that's out there about confidentiality, about people running away from ICE agents and Census Bureau workers because they think we're going to report them to ICE. There's just no truth to that matter. The United States Census Bureau does not share information with any federal government, any entity, law enforcement, period. We are sworn by secrecy. When I went to my training, sworn by secrecy, as an employee, you cannot talk about it, period. You can't say this person lives there. We're even going so far in our computer data and census tract system we're having discussions about, normally we give information on census tracts based upon population. You can go zero down into right outside the street here, find out the household income and all that. But, in light of the conversations happening about citizenship question and immigrant communities and the fear and along the border and all over the United States, what we're doing is having conversations about, is that the smartest way to release that information? Right? So back to the point of the census key dates. Bottom line is December 31st next year, we deliver the count to the president. Next page what to expect when applying for 2020 census jobs. You got to be a U.S. citizen, got to be 18 or over. Application process begins online. We need your help promoting that. We'd love to have a conversation with Dr. Serrata and the staff, the executive leadership, so that we can begin an action plan to make that a reality. The website for the area census office jobs, www.census.gov. We can email you this information in digital format and share it also with your executive team. The partnership fact sheet. The City of El Paso and the County of El Paso have come together to create a complete count committee. A complete count committee is the most effective tool the census has developed over the years to outreach to the local community. It's driven by elected leaders. It's driven by community leaders and trusted voices, because we come in as the federal government and we start saying, hey, don't worry, don't worry, don't worry. It's not gonna resonate. Right? So what we need are people coming together, and that's exactly what's happening at the city and county, putting together a complete count committee with education. We want to have the higher education folks there. UTEP has committed to creating their own organizational community, complete count committee. And we love to see the same thing happen here at El Paso Community College, done in your own way, driven by your ideas, and implemented the way y'all want to do it, so that you can help us identify and reach out and move hard-to-count populations to be counted. Thank you very much for your time. If you have any questions.
Sure, Mr. Roque, thank you for being here. This is really invaluable information. I would ask Dr. Strata through his office to set up a meeting, an appointment, so we can work closely with you and your organization. And I suggest that student government consider being part of this, our complete count team. But thank you for being here. Anybody have questions for Mr. Roque?
I do.
Yes, ma'am.
Just one question. What kind of support systems do you have in place for the partnership?
Well, in terms of, well, that's why we're here, right? As partnership specialists, we're here to facilitate, bridge communication, educate, provide informational materials, do training, do workshops, right? So that's really the role of the partnership specialists that are here in El Paso, working for the partners in these complete count committees.
So is there a plan for how the census will go in areas where there is no technology accessibility for the online registration?
Yes, we do have different field operations, and we have operations specifically because for the most part, you're going to receive, if you have an address, like an apartment or a house address, you're going to receive materials, a census questionnaire form, and then you're also going to be reached out via mail, right? So, and then you're also going to be tapped on the door. They're going to knock on your door. But if you don't have online capability, well then what we're going to do is we're going to know, right, through the address canvassing that's happening right now, right, checking where are the addresses, we're going to know who doesn't have any access or who's not responding as we go along through enumeration. That way we can send census workers out there, enumerators, to do that. The second answer to the question, second part of the answer is that's exactly why we need this partnership. Because you have folks out there that don't have the internet, especially in the rural communities, or you just don't have it in your budget. So if we have like a facility, like El Paso Community College wants to open up the cafeteria, open up the Wi-Fi and let folks come in, we can do training, we can do workshops, we can help people apply and self-respond to the census.
Thank you.
Great. Any other questions? Mr. Roque, thank you very much. And if you would follow up, okay, or Dr. Serrata will follow up with you. Okay.
Special projects.
You got Pam already. Okay, good. Thank you very much.
Item 1.7.3, the El Paso Community College Foundation, represented by Mr. Bob Snow, Chair, and Ms. Patricia Marquez, Vice Chair, and Dr. Dolores Gross, Executive Director, Resource Development, and the Foundation for El Paso Community College, will accept a $5,000 contribution from Northeast El Paso Rotary Club for scholarships and recognize Mr. Jimmy Melver, Rotary District Assistant Governor, and Ms. Arwen Lyle, President, for their support of EPCC students.
Good evening, Dr. Gross.
Good evening, Chairman Fierro, Board of Trustees, Dr. Serrata, staff and guests. This evening, the El Paso Community College Foundation is very proud and very pleased to recognize longtime donors and great advocates for El Paso Community College students, Northeast Rotary Club of El Paso Foundation. And I'd like to share a little bit about the great work that Northeast Rotary Club Foundation has done with EPCC over the years. This year, Northeast Rotary Club Foundation has awarded $5,000 for student scholarships for students from Northeast El Paso. This funding is specifically targeted for Northeast El Paso students to help them attend the college. But they've been partners with EPCC since 2001, and in recent years have contributed over $33,000 for scholarships. And so here with us this evening, we have Ms. Arwen Lyle, President of Northeast El Paso Rotary Club, and Mr. Jimmy Melver. And many of you, I'm sure, know Mr. Melver, very active in the community and a great advocate for education and across El Paso. And Mr. Melver is Rotary District Assistant Governor. So thank you. Would you all like to say?
Please. The microphone's yours.
Well, it's a great honor to give money to a wonderful, wonderful campus like EPCC. I can remember when I was working for El Paso Natural Gas, going to Logan Heights to take my first class. And where we have now compared to back then, it's really amazing, amazing. And my hat's off to all of you that served on the EPCC board. And Northeast Rotary Club is gladly giving money every year to you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Are you off? Oh.
Thank you.
Item 1.7.4, Dr. Serrata will present the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting for fiscal year 2016-2017 to Ms. Josette Shaughnessy, CPA, Vice President, Financial and Administrative Operations and Chief Financial Officer, and Mr. Fernando Flores, CPA, Associate Vice President, Budget and Financial Services.
So Chair Fierro, members of the board, it is always an honor for me to present this Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting, known as the CAFR. So Vice President Shaughnessy, Associate Vice President Flores, as well as the rest of the team, work diligently on this every year. What you'll see is we're having to take them off because they continue to win this award so much. So now we're replacing the years on here. How many years it is? 22 straight years.
That's amazing.
Under the leadership of Ms. Shaughnessy, Mr. Flores. So let me ask them both to come up, please. Mr. Flores, good. So that I can present it to them. Thank you so much. Of course.
So, no pressure for the 23rd year, but we're working on that. But I wanted to certainly say a few words about this award for the benefit of Ms. Sanchez. So thank you, Dr. Serrata, for recognizing an area of my division that does not always receive the recognition it deserves because they are working behind the scenes. If something wrong happens, oh, we're going to know about it because it's going to be on the front page of the newspaper. When something good happens, we don't see that unless we get this kind of award. Now, I'm aware that the Board of Trustees is very familiar with and expects this annual award, right, Dr. Graham?
Yes.
No pressure for next year, right? So for the benefit of Ms. Sanchez, I would like to give a brief description of the purpose of this award. Once again, El Paso Community College was awarded the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting by the Government Finance Officers Association of the United States and Canada, or GFOA, for fiscal year ended August 31st, 2017. This is the 22nd year that the college received this award, which is the highest form of recognition in governmental accounting and financial reporting. This award that was established in by GFOA in 1945 recognizes state and local governments that go beyond the minimum requirements of generally accepted accounting principles by preparing comprehensive annual financial report, also known as the CAFR, that evidence transparency and full disclosure. And we know how important transparency and full disclosure have become. The EPCC CAFR undergoes extensive scrutiny for compliance with strict accounting standards by a committee that reviews the report and rotates with new members every year to provide a different perspective at every review. So the award is not a given. It is never a given on an annual basis and requires from the EPCC Budget and Financial Services team consistent commitment in adhering to any new reporting standards that are mandated by GFOA in pursuing this award. EPCC's CAFR, as you know, highlights not only the college's financial results, but also its achievement in every area of the district, such as any new initiatives that are related to student success, technology, and the various services that are provided to the El Paso community. If you were to look at the CAFR that was probably derived 10, 15 years ago, and you compare it to today, you will see how much the initiatives have grown in that report. Absolutely amazing. And we make sure that we highlight every achievement that this college has done in the past year. The CAFR also provides a wealth of information to the federal, state, and local agencies, the bond rating agencies, and the college's accrediting bodies about the college's vital role in a local, state, and national economy. I can tell you this document is very scrutinized by a lot of agencies, especially the bond rating, and they always ask about our CAFR on a regular basis. Several areas in budget and financial services contribute to the preparation of the CAFR by virtue of their crucial involvement in the preparation of the audit report, to include accounting services under the leadership of Fernando Flores, Associate Vice President, Budget and Financial Services. The final report is compiled in my office under the leadership of Sandra McHale, Executive Office Manager, whose role is essential in compiling the report in the format that is prescribed by GFOA. There's a specific format, and we cannot basically derive from that format. I also would like to recognize the Rio Grande IC staff, in particular Sylvia Sustaita, for her ongoing support with the timely printing of the report. We used to send that report, actually we used to outsource the printing of that report. We are using our internal resources to do that, and they do a great job, and we're very thankful for their timeliness in getting that report out, which normally is by February the 28th. Special thanks to our external auditors, especially Terry Reinert, for their review of the report prior to submission to GFOA. We're now gearing up for the submission of fiscal year 2017-18 CAFR that includes the fiscal year 17-18 audit report that is going to be presented to you just right after my presentation, so stay tuned. Thank you again for the opportunity to showcase accomplishments by Budget and Financial Services and for their hard work in securing the award. See you again next year. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Shaughnessy. Good evening.
Good evening. No Pam's doing reads.
Everybody waits for Pam to give
I know,
us a
I'm
signal.
sorry, I was-
That's right. Is it okay, Pam?
Answering questions here.
Oh.
sorry.
No, I'll let her read before I start.
Item 1.7.5, Ms. Terry Reinert, CPA, partner Peña Briones McDaniel and Company, PC, will present the audit results of the fiscal year 2018 financial statements.
Which button do I press? Oops. I didn't press anything yet. Okay.
Thank you very much for allowing me to come and present your annual audit results for the year ending August 31st, 2018. I appreciate you letting me be here. I think you've received a handout of the presentation as well for yourself, and then you also have a copy of the full annual financial statements as well. All right, just kind of want to go over, before I get into the numbers, kind of go over with this or so and talk to you a little bit about, what we do as an auditor. Oops, did I go too far? No? Okay, I'm sorry. To start off with or so, when we do an audit or so, we have different responsibilities or so in here. The responsibility is to make sure that your financial statements are presented in a reasonable basis, not an absolute assurance about the financial statements. So what I'm getting at with here or so is we don't go in there and test every transaction that occurs through the college or so. We will go there and look at your internal control system and then develop a plan and determine where we need to do our testing. So again, I'm not going to look at everything in there. Again, and then what I need to come to you to is to come and present to you then is the results of the financial statements. I'm required to do that under my auditing standards, and that's what I'm doing here tonight. Also had a meeting or so with the president and his cabinet, and also with all the financial staff as well before we got to this point or so. So I'm fulfilling my obligation in presenting this to you. But I also need to let you know too, is me doing the audit, our firm doing the audit, so does not relieve you, the college or so, of your responsibility of your financial system. You are still responsible for making sure you have internal control systems in place and making sure you're in compliance with all your rules and regulations and in compliance or so with the accounting standards as well. So one of the things, again, I mentioned or so, is one of the first things that we do is we look at your internal control system. And there's 5 different elements or so of our internal control system that we look at. Your control environment, that's basically the attitude at the tone at the top, the attitude at the top. It's you, it's the board. Do you present and want everyone to do the right thing? Does it mean your cabinet members? Does it mean the supervisors or so? All that attitude or so is there to do the right thing, so we look at that. Another area under internal controls is your risk assessment. We're looking to see you have the policies and procedures in place. You make sure that you consider fraud. If you have a new accounting software or new softwares that you implement, you're making sure that you look through that and look at all the different risks with that and making sure you put controls in there. Do a new program, the same thing. You're making sure that you assess your risk in your whole operations. Then we look at the area of information and communication. And what we're looking at there is making sure the employees understand what they're supposed to do, what their job is. Make sure your employees understand if there's a problem or so, what is the procedures, where do they go? Where do they go upstream or so to talk to supervisors? How do they communicate what those problems are? And you handle that or so when you have your new employee orientations, when you do your leadership academies, when you have your team meetings or so. You're doing all of that type of communication, letting your staff know what they're supposed to do. The other one is monitoring, and what that is too is that is not the external auditors. That is you internally. You internally making sure that you're checking yourself. If you can contract out with outside agencies to do that, you can do that internally. But it's having someone different from that department look at the procedures to make sure they're done properly. And the last area of internal controls or so is the one that I think typically most people kind of think about. That's your performance. One of them is performance reviews. And what that is comparing your numbers. Like you have the financial statements or so right now, and you're comparing it to your budget. So that gives you an idea, are you online with your budget? Also, you can kind of compare to actuals to this year to last year to see if you're online. You can compare yours to your peers to see if it makes sense or so. That's what performance reviews are doing, and you do that on an ongoing basis. Those are presented in your annual your financial statements you receive on a monthly basis. Then there's information processing. That's making sure, that's checking, so that's having somebody prepare something, someone else review them. We're looking at that and making sure there's proper review and authorizations of transactions. And then there's physical control. That is security over your assets and safeguards. That's making sure too that no one has access to the cash, that there's restrictions on access to your bank accounts. Making sure that IT, you have just actual physical barriers getting into your ICT area to make sure unauthorized people can't get in there. Making sure there's physical inventories done on your assets, so we're looking at that. And the area too is segregation of duties. We look at that and making sure that not one person or department has control over handling all of the transactions, let's say, as far as students coming and registering. That you don't want the same person or same department or so registering the student, taking the money to the bank. That's why you have all these different departments and areas doing these different transactions. So we're looking at that and testing that. Once we've done our internal control and looking at the internal control or so, then we're going to look to make sure we think the numbers are materially correct on your financial statements. We're also going to be looking at testing to make sure that you're following proper government accounting and auditing principles. When we did the auditor stuff too, you are under what they call a single audit. You receive over $750,000 in federal and state fundings, so therefore you're required to have what we call a single audit. Your federal funding was almost $62 million this last year, and your state funding was about $3 million. And of that, we looked at 93% of your federal funding, and we looked at 80% of your state. The majority of that has to do with your student financial aid. Those were the areas that we really looked at and hit the hardest. If you want more detail of that or so, that's in page 63 and 64 of your financial statements packet. Then also what I need to talk to you a little bit and tell you about is some of your significant accounting policies and practices. One of the areas or so is on estimates, and the area that you really are more material to your financial statements is your allowance for doubtful accounts. You know, that you loan money out to the students, you loan them for their tuition through accounts receivables and notes receivables. And from those or so, and unfortunately, those are not all collected. And so therefore, so you have to go through and analyze those and determine how much is not collectible and do an allowance. So that's an estimate that's on your financial statements that you need to be aware of. Then other significant accounting policies, as you know, this is the third year for your pension one, where we had to put in that great big pension liability on your books 3 years ago for the $22 million. Well, this year, we added another one we talked a little bit about last year, and that's called your OPEB, or post benefits other than pensions. And so that was a new one this year, and we mentioned that last year, and we didn't know how much that was going to be. We'll get into that, and I'll give you the numbers in a minute. Not yet. But your pension one this year, so that liability this year was $20 million, so that actually was a decrease of $5 million. And the reason with that really had to do with the investments. You know, the pension account or so, they're highly invested, and so when the market does well, then your liability has gone down, and so that was really the big cause of that going down. So your liability went down $5 million. Your deferred outflow, that went down to 0, so that was a positive. And then also your deferred inflows liability, that should say increased to the $1.9 million on there. So you had an overall positive effect to your bottom line over into your P&L, about $623,000 to your financial statements because of the pension this year. So that was a positive. And again, you can look on page 24 through 30, and that'll give you more detail or so of that if you really want to read all of those. Then as I mentioned, the other one, the new one this year had to do with your OPEB. And so we talked a little bit last year, we didn't know how much that was going to be. This was a biggie. It's real similar to the pension plan where we had to put a liability on the books, and we also have to do the deferred inflows, outflows. Again, as a reminder, this was an accounting reporting change, but not funding. So there's no change in your funding. This is just how we had to account it and put it on your books and disclose that. The reason why they came up with this or so is they said this is more accountable for your OPEB liability. So basically those entities, if you're going to give out these benefits to your staff and your retirees, then they said they want to see that amount on your books to really properly show what your liabilities are going to be down the year on there. And so there's, again, more robust disclosures and, again, creating more transparency. This is real similar, I said, as your pension one, but there is a big difference. And when we show you the numbers on the next slide, you'll see why. This is a pay-as-you-go. Your insurance, think about your health insurance, when they charge you the premiums, they're just charging what they think it's going to cost to cover the health insurance and the doctor's visits, the prescriptions, et cetera, for the new year. And so that's how they base your premiums on there. So they're not building up a big investment account like on the pension plan. They've all along or so was collecting money to put away for the future, knowing they're going to have to pay this out. Insurance plans have not done that. They're always just a pay-as-you-go. So now when they go out and project what they think the future liabilities are going to be, they didn't have a bucket of money invested in there to be able to pay for that. And so now when they went and computed that, this number is it's very, very large. And so these are your numbers. You had a net decrease to your net pension of almost $69 million. So that hit your bottom line at the very beginning of this fiscal year. So that was just a paper entry that took out $69 million out of your net position. The ending number, so that was as of 9/1/2017. So the net pension liability at the end of August of 31st, 2018 is $59 million. but then you had a deferred inflow, which is a liability of $11.3 million. And so actually the total number is about $70 million. So you had an increase from the beginning of the year to the end of the year about a $1.5 million. And so this is just a gigantic hit to your net position. Fortunately, you have been building up your net position over the years, and so you could take it without going into negative position. There have been some colleges out there when they had to make this entry went into a negative position in their net position. So this was a really hard one to take this year. We didn't have any audit adjustments when we did the audit, or so we didn't have any adjustments that we felt like we needed to make from your internal financial statements to the audited financial statements. We had one audit adjustment we did not make, and this is one that we have not made to the books or so, is one of our accounting rules are for capitalizing interest on bonds. So you have the bonds and that interest that has to do with your construction in progress. The accounting standards say we're supposed to capitalize that and then depreciate it over the life of the building or the asset. We've never done that or so. The net effect was a 0.5% to your net position, so it's very, very immaterial, and so we've not done that. And think about if we had, then we would start depreciating it. So in the end of the time, it would come out to zero and have no effect on your bottom line. So basically what I'm concluding to when we do the audit is, so we believe the numbers that you are receiving on a monthly basis, as well as what's in your audit, are in conformity with the government accounting principles. And we didn't have any other audit findings or issues that I needed to report to you. So to kind of summarize then the financial statements, the reports or so, is we issue 3 different reports on your financial statements. One is on the financial statements themselves. And that opinion is unmodified or a clean opinion, so that's the best you can get, saying we think that your financial numbers are materially correct. Then the other report is what we call a yellow book, and that is on your controls over your financial reporting. And there again, we had no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies. And the last report is what we call on our single audit, and so that was on the major programs, that's student financial aid that we were testing, and your state programs. Again, there we had no instances of non-compliance requirements over those. And then we also looked to see that you're in compliance with your Public Funds Investment Act, and you are in compliance with that, so no issues in that area as well. All right, let's do some numbers now. I'm an accountant, so we have to put some numbers in here. With this first slide or so, this is your balance sheet. This is the asset side of your balance sheet. So as you can see too, we have your cash, the first 2 numbers up there. Your cash actually increased by $2.6 million in there. That's really is coming from your unrestricted. I've kind of broken out your cash into 2 buckets. One is your unrestricted and the other is your restricted, and that basically is your bond money. Those are the monies that are set aside to do your master plan using those bonds. So you can see that's gone down this year about $10 million, and that's going to continue as you can continue to implementing your master plan and doing that. Your receivables or so, that didn't go up, down, that did not change significantly. Your notes receivable, that went up, and that's due to the kind of the timing or so too of when the students enroll and when they apply for their student financial aid. Perhaps they might be given a short-term loan, emergency loan, or installment loan, and so that's sometimes the timing or so when the student gets all of his student financial aid packet through the system. The prepaid charge, as you know or so, again, that's related to your tuition for the next fall. So again, that's students that have enrolled or so, and that we hold that over until the fall of, in this case, fall of 2018 in there. So those are your major asset accounts on there, current assets on there. Your other assets is your capital assets, so of course you can see that's increased about $13 million. That is, again, is all the construction projects that you have going on for your master plan. We'll continue to see that increase in there. So overall, we I always kind of want to look at too is your current assets to your current liabilities. We'll look at that over here. That ratio was 3.7 to 1 this year. In 2017, it was 4 to 1. So it's gone down a little bit or so, and that's going to continue to kind of go down as you use up that money to go towards your master projects or so. But again, that still is a very good ratio that you have in there. This next slide is your liabilities. So that shows, okay, who do you owe? As you can see in here, your accounts payable went up about $3 million. And again, the reason why that's up is because of all the projects, the construction progress. So you have a lot of bills out there. Those are bigger bills than normally the normal operations. Of course, that's gone up a little bit. But again, we take a look at that and did not find anything that was unusually outstanding. It's all current things that are just needing to be paid timing on there. The other item under your current assets that is large is that unearned revenue. That's the other side again. That has to do with, again, your students that have enrolled. for the fall of the next year, but we put that into the following year, and so again, that's in there. That has increased or so. The combination of that is your student enrollment at fall of 18 compared to fall of 17 increased slightly, as well as you increased your tuition at that point too. The rest of the year that they change in your tuition, so that caused that to go up. So that's a positive number. When you look at liabilities or so, out of the current liabilities of $73 million, $54 million of that is just revenue waiting to be recognized until September 1st when school starts. So that's a positive thing. What I did highlight on here is that net OPEB liability. That's where you see that $59 million I talked to you earlier about. That's where you see that show up on your financial statements. So that's, again, is quite a large number. And the other one down there is your deferred inflows, outflows, or so for the OPEB. Again, that's that almost $4 million in there. And that has to do with the actuary stuff. That can change. Those numbers can change drastically if they go out and estimate what they believe the health care costs, and if they're off 1%, it can be a $10 million hit to your financial statements if they're off this estimate. And so they never know. I mean, they do their best guess to the actuaries, but what happens or so. But just a 1% change can have a $10 million effect to your financials. This next one, this is your net position. This is where I showed you too that you had a decrease or so overall in your net position. All your other items or so, how the different buckets of your net position or so all increased throughout the year. The one that didn't is that unrestricted, again, because we had to hit it for almost $69 million. Overall, you had about a $14.3 million net income for the year before you had to make that nasty $69 million hit to your fund balance. This one shows you a little bit better, I think, too. We added to this. Now we're getting into your statistical schedules, and this is where Ms. Shaughnessy talked about your CAFR. So there are so many different schedules and useful information or so. Your statistical schedules in your financial statements, I think, are great to be able to take a look at those and get some valuable information. What I highlighted on here for you is to see that we have made over the last several years or so some government accounting changes to your financial statements that were required to. This last year, as we just mentioned or so, is the OPEB at $69 million. Back in 2015, this was your pension one, and back then we thought this was a lot at $22.4 million. And then a couple years before that or so was the way we had to do bond expenses or so. When you add up all of those changes that hit your net position, it was $92 million that hit your bottom line. That if we did not have to make these accounting adjustments or so, you would have almost $200 million in your net position without these adjustments. But everybody had to do it, so it's not just you, everybody's doing that. So as you can see too, you've had from 10 years ago or so until this year, your fund balance, so even with a $92 million hit, you had a $1 million increase. And so because of having all of this net income all of these years, or these past years, the bonding company looks at your rating. That's one of the things they look at and why they went from having a AA up to an A+. And so building your fund balance or your net position or so over the years or so has enabled you to be able to handle this almost $92 million hit to it and keep you in a positive position and keep the bonding people still happy with you. This schedule shows you where your revenue is coming from, what different sources or so it's coming from. So you can see, your tuition and fees compared to this year to last year went down slightly. That had to do with you had a slight decrease in your enrollment. Also included in that too is that when it says in their net discounts, what's included in there too is your exemptions you do for your dual credit and early college students, and that increased about $1 million this year. So you're increasing those students, but unfortunately then that exemption or so that they receive from coming or so too causes your net tuition to go down. And so that's really the big reason that caused that to go down. Your state appropriations, that went up this year about $3 million. That had to do with, again, with part of our entry that we had to make for the OPEB, for the health insurance, retired health insurance. Really, there was no really big change in your state appropriations except for this health care that we had to adjust for. Your property taxes, that went up. Again, had to do with your rates as well as your evaluations of the property. And your federal grants, and that is your student financial aid. That's the majority of that is student financial aid. So that went up. That was a positive thing too, is because you made the Pell available for students for the summer, as well as what we noticed too is your direct student loans, which that's not in that number, but more students were getting the Pell and less in loans. And so In 2017, they had about $6 million in direct loans through the federal government. This last year, they only did about $4 million. So that's a positive thing, I think, because then your students are leaving the college without having this debt burden on them when they go on, which I think is a very, very positive thing. This one is, again, it's the same thing with your revenue by source, but it gives you the percentage of where your revenue is coming from. And I think I just highlighted this year compared to 10 years ago and showing where that change or so of your revenue is coming from. As you can see, your state appropriations went down over 6%. So you're getting 6% less from the state appropriations, so you're having to cover it someplace. Also, your federal grants have gone down a little over 1%. So where are you getting that money from? So you've had to go out and raise your tuition. So that's covering a little over 2% there. And then also then your property taxes have gone up. And so you've had to come up with some ways to fund that state appropriations decline. This is their schedule showing your programs by function. So again, most of them they're pretty similar or so percentage-wise. The big reason you've had an increase over this year over last year of your operation expenses of about $5 million. Again, about $3 million of that had to do with the health insurance entry that we had to make. The other $2 million or so had to do with the 3% raises that you gave to all of the staff. That really was your increase in your expenses. All the other different areas, when we looked at all the other different supplies, et cetera, type thing, those didn't increase. So it all had to do with your wages and your fringe benefits is where the increase occurred. Then the other area is your interest on your capital debt. That's gone up. That's going to continue to stay at that because this is the first full year of having your bond debt of the new bonds that you issued last year in there. Again, this is just the percentages or so by the expenses. This one is your statistic number 4. This shows you your tuition by 12 hours, which is considered a full-time equivalent. And you can look at that and can see, yes, where you've come over the last 10 years. I kind of looked or so, too, at the local universities here in town and compared your tuition to them. Theirs is 3 to 5 times higher than what your rate is. And so, yes, I know you've had to increase it, but you still are substantially lower than the others and giving them a quality education to your students.
Did that include fees also?
Yes,
We
it did.
Okay.
It did. I was comparing fees as well as tuition, yes, with that. So I do apples to apples, yes, sir. This schedule so just kind of shows your property tax. I've kind of taken some information from the other schedules to kind of put it together. I just want to compare what your rate is to the other rates of the other entities here in El Paso County. So this year, your total tax rate as a percentage of all the taxes in this county is 4.73%. It has really stayed in that 4% range over the last 10 years, so you're staying consistently with that. You're not increasing yours at a greater rate than any of the other entities here in town. This schedule kind of shows, again, for the state appropriations. This is just the education portion, so will not tie back over to the other $40 million that we were talking about earlier, because this is just the education in here. So you can see over 10 years ago, you used to get, for a full-time student equivalent, $1,909 from the state. Now you're at $1,807. So over 10 years, costs have continued going up, but you can see that they're not giving you as much to help support the college as what they have in the past. This schedule, or so I like, is put 2 of them together. This shows your students. This is where is your demographics of your student coming from. And you can see, too, we've talked about your dual credits in the early college or so. And I think it's this graph shows this. You can see your students under 18. 10 years ago, it was only 7.8% of your student population. Now it's over 22% of that population. And we even look at the 18 to 21 again, those continue to change, to switch or so, that you're seeing, again, the more of your population is coming from that high school and early college. And you can see the average course load, too, has gone down. It used to be 8.9 hours. Now it's 8.1. And the age was used to be about 24 and a half, and now it's to 22. So that just kind of shows, yes, the change in your demographics of your students. And that was really what I wanted to present to you. Again, before I leave, I really want to thank the board, the president, all of his cabinet, especially all the staff or so in the accounting areas. We talk to student financial aid, we're in grants, we're doing IT, we're doing human resources. We are all over the place talking to so many people, and they are very, very professional and cooperative, and we've never had any issues or so getting information and working with any of your staff, and we appreciate that very, very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Questions?
Any questions? Ms. Robles, no? Okay. Ed Grant?
I just have one. Does the audit include also the foundation?
No, but that's done separately.
But it is done?
It is done, yes, ma'am.
by
Does
you?
your firm?
We do it, yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
Sorry.
And we've almost ready to complete that, and we should be presenting that to their board in February.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Item 1.7.6, optional presentations will be made by the presidents of the Classified Staff Association, the Professional Staff Association, the Faculty Association, and the Student Government Association.
Good evening, welcome.
Hello, good afternoon. I would like to take this time to congratulate Trustee Sanchez on her appointment.
Yes.
And congratulate Vice President Shaughnessy on her winning streak, so congratulations, great job. So last semester was pretty decent for us, but under my leadership, this semester will be much more effective and productive.
Thank you.
We have already hit the ground running, so I'm pretty excited. So this Wednesday, January 30th, SGA will be in Austin, Texas to attend Community College Day. We are scheduled to meet with all 5 of our state representatives and senator to discuss higher education in the 86th Texas legislative session. My team is currently in the process of reviewing 30 bills that have been filed for this session regarding higher education. When we meet with our legislators, we will urge them to vote for whatever bills we decide to endorse and articulate some narratives unique to EPCC. I also drafted a resolution which I will present to the El Paso delegation regarding the rise of tuition and property taxes and the long-term decrease of state appropriations here at the college. And so you all should have a copy of that resolution we drafted. President Serrata, members of the board, if you all have policy priorities that you would like for my team to articulate, please send them my way. I did attach my business card to the resolution. Moreover, during the month of May, SGA will distribute to the public a legislative report card on the 86th Texas legislative session. We will analyze the voting record of each state representative and the senator in El Paso and give them a letter grade depending on how they vote for legislation regarding to higher education, see if it's higher education friendly. We are hoping to work with faculty to draft this report card that we will send out to the public. Like I always mention, my mission for SGA is to promote productivity and effectiveness. We have been doing that through special projects. On February 1st, we will be hosting our first Friday Art and Music Show to give the public a chance to enjoy local art and music from our talented students. There will be artisan crafts and food available for everybody. This event was spearheaded by my Vice President, Alex, so I'm extremely proud of you. For the month of March, we are pretty much already done organizing an event for International Women's Day, where organizations like Planned Parenthood, the ACLU, and the Borderland Rainbow Center will talk about gender equality and pass out resources to everybody who attends. We are also organizing an essay contest where students will write an essay about the impact of food insecurity and what we as a society can do to address this issue. And the winner will be awarded a $500 scholarship at our annual SGA banquet in May. As we all know, elections are extremely important, so that is why this semester we will be focusing on the elections organized for trustee and our own SGA elections. We are going to host town halls for anyone running for EPCC trustee to ensure that candidates have the chance to speak about issues that are important to students and what their opinion is on the student voice. We are also drafting a strategy to ensure strong participation and interest in our own SGA elections, which happen annually. Not only will we get out the vote, but we will also ensure that students are actually running for office. Our goal is to ensure that every single spot in SGA is filled and that we have very competitive elections. So that is our goal for this semester, one of our goals this semester. And this is the first time SGA has actually promoted SGA elections at the degree that I want to promote it. The reason being is because continuity is so important for us, and so that is why we are making sure that the next SGA is solid as rock. And lastly, we have been promoting the food pantry for families affected by the United States government shutdown. According to Charles DeLynn, a Canadian writer, he said, "I don't want to live in the kind of world where we don't look out for each other, not just the people that are close to us, but anybody who needs a helping hand. I can't change the way anybody else thinks or what they choose to do, but I can do my bit. I'm very proud that we are doing our bit to help those families in need that are being affected by the shutdown. And I look forward to an effective semester, and that concludes my report. Thank you."
Mr. Mena, a couple of questions, please. Can
Yes,
you
sir.
give us an idea of how many people have outreached to you in regards to the families in need?
I don't have an exact number, but we have put up a poster just today.
Okay.
We will share on our social media, but we do have that resource available for those students who have families that are affected by the government
No.
shutdown. And we
Good,
will also,
thank you for doing that.
Yes, thank you so much. Anything else?
Yes, in regards to the legislative agenda, would you get with Dr. Serrata's office, just so you guys can share some ideas, please?
Absolutely, that'll be perfect.
Before, Dr. Graham?
I just had a couple of questions. One is regarding the census. Are you all, or have you all planned any interaction with that to support that initiative? Because just like the gentleman that came to do the presentation explained, it's going to be very important for our community.
We are absolutely open to collaborating with however we can with the U.S. Census. So absolutely, we'd be more than happy to help out.
Okay. And the second thing is, the Senator Rodriguez has an Education Advisory Committee.
Yes.
And we meet every month. It'd be great if you could send one of your representatives to the meetings. I know they're on Saturdays at 9 o'clock in the senator's offices.
Yes.
But the first one coming up is this Saturday. Maybe it's too short notice, but we certainly can use a young person there representing the college.
Actually, that's great. Actually, I've been attending in the summer. So I went in the summer to the Senator's Educational Advisory Committee. Ms. Jan Lockhart was there, so I have been attending. I stopped attending, but I will attend the next one.
I never miss a meeting, but I don't remember seeing you there, but I'd be glad to have you there.
Yes,
Thank
of course, I'll be there.
I have a question.
Ms. Sanchez?
Hi. Mr. Mena, thank you for being here, and thank you to your team for being here too. I'm very happy to meet you, and hopefully we can work together. I just had a couple of questions. The first one, do you provide a list of all your events on a website, or how can we let the public know some of the student activities that are going on?
So sometimes we do share like a press release with marketing.
Okay.
We also share on social media. But as far as a list, we can definitely start working on that moving forward.
That would be great. I'd be interested in attending some of that just to get to know the student body. And then secondly, with regards to the food pantry, that's just such a wonderful idea. I know a lot of colleges are doing that across the country. What are you doing, I guess, now? I understand that, in addition to the students, we are looking at students who are federal employees that are working. Are you all looking to or perhaps need assistance in reaching out to maybe replenish that pantry or provide any additional information, resources to those students if you've heard anything?
Mm-hmm. That sounds like such an amazing idea. I will have to check with my advisor, Ms. Arvis Jones, to ensure that to have a plan moving forward.
Sure.
But if this shutdown keeps being prolonged, we will definitely look at that to extend it to everybody in the community.
That would be great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
If you could share that update with Pam, and she can share it with the board, please.
Of course, sounds good. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Good evening, Ms. Bell.
Good
Welcome.
evening. Happy New Year. And welcome to Trustee Sanchez. It is my great honor to address you and the entire board tonight. Our address this month is focused on the concept of equity. I want to talk to you about several projects the faculty have currently in progress and one item that we would like some attention brought to. The major project is actually a midterm grade initiative that's been initiated out of our Texas Pathways team. As you know, the Pathways concept focuses on equity itself, that we would be able to empower students with specific structured pathways to be able to make smart decisions about how to complete their degree in the most efficient way forward. And so what we're hoping to accomplish with our midterm pilot, and we've solicited various faculty from around the district to do this, is to provide students with specific updates on what is your overall grade at midterm. Our hope is that that will still give them several weeks to improve that grade, whether we're talking about an A, a B, a D, a C, or whatever. Also, we have been able to partner with many student services avenues and using their directory so that we can empower faculty to have conversations with students at that time to say, it looks like it would really help you in this course if you would connect with the reading lab, or the Writing Center, or Seek Out Tutoring. This particular directory is phenomenal. It's broken down by campus. It has specific hours, but also names. And our hope is now, rather than just telling a student, why don't you seek out tutoring, if we say, here's the location, here's the book, here's the person, that it'll help overcome the barrier of them actually going and seeking that kind of help. We'll be tracking their progress to see if there's an improvement in their grade from midterm to final, and it is our hope that we'll have a way to really reach out to our entire students. The way that faculty have as our DNA, we love data. We're functionally nerds, kind of at our core. But for us, the question of equity really is, can we identify students that need a bridge built out toward them? Because we believe that rising tides will raise all ships. And if we have an intervention to save the least likely to succeed, and we apply it across the student body, then it should have a positive impact on all students, regardless of whether or not they're at risk. Which brings me to the issue that we would ask additional attention and concern, which was the amendment of the WIPE this particular semester. It is our understanding that this decision was made thoughtfully based on data, and it was intended to be incredibly practical to address the challenges institutionally of the wipeout system for students who had not paid for their courses. We also understand that this decision was that we would allow extra time, communication, and information to students of high academic standing to be able to retain them institutionally rather than wipe them all out. We don't think that this is a bad decision, but we ask for the rising tide, that if it is an intervention that helps a student who is more likely to succeed, that definitely that could build a bridge to a student who seems less likely to succeed. And if we could find the resources and the personnel institutionally to give this kind of opportunity to all students, then it is something that would celebrate the lens of equity. And so we ask for that consideration as we continue to work toward a WIPE that makes sense. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Sal. Dr. Sarata, could you follow up with us in regards to Mrs. Bell's concern?
Absolutely.
Please.
Thank you so much.
Item 1.8, communications, none. Item 1.9, Board of Trustee business. Item 1.9.2, the Board of Trustees will conduct an election for the position of Secretary of the Board of Trustees.
This item is on here to replace Ms. Solis, who was the Secretary of the Board. At this time, I'd like to make the motion that we consider and appoint Ms. Robles to Secretary of the Board.
Second.
Questions? Secret vote? She already shook her head. Okay. Pam?
Mrs. Robles.
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez.
Aye.
Mr. Haggerty.
Aye.
Dr. Graham.
Aye.
Mr. Fierro.
Aye. Thank you, Ms. Robles, for accepting.
Item 1.9.3, the Board of Trustees will deliberate on an election order calling for an election to be held on May 4th, 2019 for the following single-member electoral districts, Districts 4, 5, and 6.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Questions? Pam?
Mrs. Robles.
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez.
Aye.
Mr. Haggerty.
Aye.
Dr. Graham.
Aye.
Mr. Fierro.
Aye.
Item 1.9.4, the Board of Trustees will deliberate on authorizing the execution of a contract with the Department of Elections of El Paso County, Texas, in an amount not to exceed $135,000 to conduct elections for Districts 4, 5, and 6.
Motion to approve?
The Board of Trustees will consider appointing the recommended election personnel and voting sites, central counting station personnel, early voting judges and alternate judges, election day judges and alternate judges, early voting sites, mobile voting sites, and election day polling sites, and enter into a joint agreement with the El Paso Independent School District and to adopt any other orders necessary to conduct such elections.
Sorry, Pam. Motion to approve.
Second.
Questions? Pam?
Mrs. Robles.
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez.
I'm going to abstain for this vote. I serve as an assistant county attorney, and I do provide legal services to our elections department, so I'm going to abstain.
Mr. Haggerty.
Aye.
Dr. Graham.
Aye.
Mr. Fierro.
Aye.
Item 1.9.5, the Board of Trustees will consider and deliberate on the approval of the outside legal counsel contract with Scott Hulse PC.
Motion to postpone.
Second.
Questions? Pam?
Mrs. Robles.
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez.
Aye.
Mr. Haggerty.
Aye.
Dr. Graham.
Aye.
Mr. Fierro.
Aye.
Item 1.11, consent docket. This includes item 3.2.
3.2, oh. Hold on one second, Pam.
I did overlook something, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Item 1.10, board reports. Item 1.10.1, treasurer's report, December 31st, 2018. No action is necessary. Item 1.10.2, president's report. Item 1.10.2.1, Dr. William Sarata will update the Board of Trustees and
we forgot
audience
his report.
on recent events that have transpired at the college.
Sorry, Dr. Rata.
Chair Fierro, members of the board, Pam does not want to report today. I certainly understand the length of the presentations
Right
that
around.
have come forward, wonderful presentations. I will be brief. Allow me, on behalf of the faculty, staff, and administration, also to welcome Ms. Sanchez to the Board of Trustees. We look forward to working with you closely. We're thrilled to have you on the board. Classes began officially on Tuesday for this semester, for the spring 2019 semester, so we are well on our way with classes. Enrollment is currently up. Kudos to Dr. Gonzalez and his team, as well as everyone else who's working on enrollment initiatives to make sure that we continue to serve this community. And finally, odd years in Texas are also legislative session years. There's good news and there's bad news. I see Mr. Mena and his team have already exited, but as they go forward with Community College Day next week at the Capitol, I was in Austin the last couple of days. I was on the same flight to Austin with Representative Blanco and Representative Moody. Representative Blanco extended his invitation to our student government to go onto the House of the Floor. He would escort them onto the House of the Floor so that they can be recognized and also enjoy pictures there on the House as well. Legislative session began on January the 8th. There is always winners and losers during a legislative session. It is our responsibility, the board and I, as well as everyone else, Ms. Bell and her team across the state, all of our respective constituency groups and associations, our student government as well, to ask and inform our legislators of what is our needs. We know that the priority this session will be public school finance. We certainly support that. But we also want to make sure that higher education is also thought of along the process. I have been reviewing the Senate preliminary budget. It's 989 pages, as well as the House preliminary budget, and also 989 pages. In the Senate version, we are looking at over $9 billion of additional funding for public school finance, including a line item of $3.7 billion for teacher salary increases of $5,000 per teacher. We applaud all of that. On the House side, we're looking at a $7 billion investment into our public schools. It'll be imperative that the delegation and the legislature as a whole mitigate the Harvey issues that came up during Hurricane Harvey throughout, in particular, the Gulf Coast region of the state. Our proposal, and it is our understanding that both the Senate and the House are looking at utilizing the rainy day fund. We're very thankful, given that they have never touched the rainy day fund, and if a hurricane is not enough rain, we don't know what will be enough rain. The delegation assignments were issued to both Senate and House already. I will touch on just some highlights on the El Paso delegation with regards to the House side. Representative Moody was designated Speaker Pro Tem, as well as Vice Chair of Calendars, a very important committee. Representative Gonzalez was appointed to the Powerful Appropriations Committee, as well as to the Public Education Committee. So our delegation has done extremely well on both the House and Senate. We will continue to advocate on behalf of the college, along with all of the constituency groups, and we look forward to the board assisting us with that as well. That concludes my report, Chair.
Thank you, Dr. Serrata.
Item 1.11, consent.
Hope that was okay, Pam.
Yes, sir. Item 1.11, consent docket. This includes item 3.2.
Move to approve? Oh, second, sorry.
That's right. No, that's right. We got a motion, the second?
Second.
Okay, questions? None? Pam?
Mrs. Robles.
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez.
Aye.
Mr. Haggerty.
Aye.
Dr. Graham.
Aye.
Mr. Fierro.
Aye.
Item 2.0, administration, none. Item 3.1, full-time institutionally funded actions.
Motion to postpone till after executive?
Second?
Questions? Pam?
Mrs. Robles.
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez.
Aye.
Mr. Haggerty.
Aye.
Dr. Graham.
Aye.
Mr. Fierro.
Aye.
Item 3.2, full-time externally funded actions. No action is necessary. That was on the consent docket. Item 3.3, information items. No action is required. Item 4.1,
Oh, thank you, Pam.
consideration and deliberation on the approval to renew the campus-wide annual support agreement with Oracle America Incorporated in the amount of $601,421.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Questions? We're ready, Pam, please.
Mrs. Robles?
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez?
Aye.
Mr. Haggerty? Dr. Graham?
Aye.
Mr. Fierro.
Aye.
Item 5.0, physical facilities, none. Item 6.1, consideration and deliberation on the acceptance of funding from the Defense Logistics Agency, Department of Defense, for the Contract Opportunities Center in the amount of $328,128.
Move to approve 6.1 and 6.2.
Second?
Question? Oh, sorry, Pam.
Item 6.2, consideration and deliberation on the approval to accept a grant award from the American Institutes for Research, AIR, in the amount of $52,244.
Any questions? Okay, Pam, we're ready, please.
Mrs. Robles.
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez.
Aye.
Mr. Haggerty.
Aye.
Dr. Graham.
Aye.
Mr. Fierro.
Aye.
Item 7.0, student services, none. Item 8.0, community services, none. 9.0, unfinished business. Executive session.
None?
Would you like me to read executive session?
please.
The Board of Trustees may conduct an executive or closed session pursuant to Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code for one or more of the following reasons: consultation with its attorney to seek or receive legal advice, or consultation regarding pending or contemplated litigation, or for any purpose authorized by law; discussion about the value or transfer of real property; discussion about a prospective gift or donation; consideration of specific personnel matters; discussion about security personnel or devices; or discussion of certain economic development matters. The board may also announce that it will go into executive session on any item listed on this agenda if the subject matter is permitted for a closed session by provisions of Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code. Any vote regarding these items shall be taken in open session. Okay, the time is 8:16 PM. The board has reconvened in open session.
Item 3.1, motion to approve with the exception of manager of student services. Please delete that.
Second.
Any questions? Nope. Pam?
Mrs. Robles,
Aye.
are you voting, Mr.?
I'm going to abstain.
Okay. Mr. Uxer,
Abstain.
Ms. Sanchez.
Aye.
Mr. Haggerty.
Aye.
Dr. Graham.
Aye.
Mr. Fierro.
Aye. Pam, can you please remind us of our next meeting, February?
I don't have that calendar
Oh.
here.
I
I
have it.
believe
I have it.
February the 27th, it's a
25th.
Monday,
On Monday.
25th, sorry.
Thank you, William.
Yes, sir.
My phone is over there.
Motion to adjourn?
Pam, who's second 3.1?
The first time or the second
No,
time?
right now.
Mrs. Robles?
Thank you.
3.2? Oh, 3.2.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Thank you.
All in favor? Aye.
Oh.